Hello and welcome to Renewed by Faith, where we are taking a deep dive into the book of Job. In this video, we will be reading chapter 24, which is the continuation of chapter 23, which was Job's response to his friend Eliphaz, a supposed friend. And in chapter 23, Job starts to say that he's ready to state his case to the Lord. He is ready to come before him, and he would give him all of his arguments, and that God would establish his innocence, or he would establish his innocence before the Lord and be delivered from judgment, and that he has not departed from the commands of the Lord, and that God stands alone. Nobody can oppose him, and he is not silenced by the darkness. So Job is maintaining his claim of innocence. He's ready to present his case to the Lord, and he is tired of what his friends are saying about him and accusing him. So let's continue on. Chapter 24, NIV version. Why does the Almighty not set times for judgment? Why must those who know him look in vain for such days? There are those who move boundary stones. They pasture flocks they have stolen. They drive away the orphan's donkey and take the widow's ox and pledge. They thrust the needy from the path and force all the poor of the land into hiding. Like wild donkeys in the desert, the poor go about their labor of foraging food. The wasteland provides food for their children. They gather fodder in the fields and glean in the vineyards of the wicked. Lacking clothes, they spend the night naked. They have nothing to cover themselves in the cold. They are drenched by mountain rains and hug the rocks for lack of shelter. The fatherless child is snatched from the breast. The infant of the poor is seized for a debt. Lacking clothes, they go about naked. They carry the sheaves, but still go hungry. They crush olives among the terraces. They tread the wine presses, yet suffer thirst. The groans of the dying rise from the city, and the souls of the wounded cry out for help. But God charges no one with wrongdoing. There are those who rebel against the light, or who do not know its ways, or stay in its paths. When daylight is gone, the murderer rises up, kills the poor and needy, and in the night steals forth like a thief. The eye of the adulterer watches for dusk. He thinks no eye will see me, and he keeps his face concealed. In the dark, thieves break into houses, but by day they shut themselves in. They want nothing to do with the light. For all of them, midnight is their morning. They make friends with the terrors of the darkness. Yet they are foam on the surface of the water. Their portion of the land is cursed, so that no one goes to the vineyards. As heat and drought snatch away the melted snow, so the grave snatches away those who have sinned. The womb forgets them, the worm feasts on them. The wicked are no longer remembered, but are broken like a tree. They prey on the barren and childless woman, and to the widow they show no kindness. But God drags away the mighty by his power. Though they become established, they have no assurance of life. He may let them rest in a feeling of security, but his eyes are on their ways. For a little while they are exalted, and then they are gone. They are brought low and gathered up like all others. They are cut off like heads of grain. This is not so. If this is not so, who can prove me false and reduce my words to nothing? So Job is talking first about why does the Almighty not set times for judgment? Like, he is questioning why he's being judged in this moment. Why am I not being judged at the end? And then he goes on to talk about the wicked, and he says, why must those who know him look in vain for such days? There are those who move boundary stones and pasture flocks that they have stolen. He goes on to talk about wicked people and that they prosper, right? We've all had this question. Why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? And so Job goes on to kind of just go in depth about, how the bad get away with stuff. And then he says, God charges no one with wrongdoing. And those who rebel against the light, who don't know its ways or stay on its paths, Goes on to talk about the murderer, the adulterer, thieves, all the horrible people that midnight is their morning. They make friends with the terrors of the darkness. Yet they are foam on the surface of the water. Their portion of the land is cursed, so that no one goes to the vineyards. That their lives are lives of curse, and that that no one goes to the vineyards, which would be a metaphor for, you know, going to a better place, right? And then basically that we all, so the grave snatches away all who have sinned. The womb forgets them. The worm feasts on them. The wicked are no longer remembered, but are broken like a tree. God drags away the mighty by his power. So not just the wicked, but the mighty are dragged away. Though they become established, they have no assurance of life. Not one of us has assurance of life. And while they are exalted, and then they are gone. And then he's asked his friends, if this is not so, who can prove me false and reduce my words to nothing? Well, the only one that can reduce his words to nothing and prove his words false is God. So he's just lamenting here. It's, again, one of those situations where it's, why do we all suffer? Why do those who commit the most heinous of sins, why do they get away with it? But that they won't be remembered, right? We all won't be remembered. When we all die, we're all going to be judged. And our legacy of what we left here on this planet is what, it may or may not be remembered, right? The wicked are no longer remembered, but broken like a tree. So he is just taking his time to state that he is, really questioning life and why things happen the way that they do. And these are all things that I believe he wants to tell God, and he eventually gets to tell God all of this. And not like God's not listening this whole time. He is, but Job is done with everything that is going on. So that is really it for chapter 24. And really it's to think about, Job is in a situation where he's ready to give it to God. And again, just putting ourselves in Job's place. If we were Job, we would probably be having a lot of the same feelings. Think about the times when you were suffering the worst in your lives. Did you have these types of thoughts going through your mind like Job does? I know I have in my tough times in life. And so I really relate to Job. So in the next chapter, chapter 25, we're going to hear from Bildad the Shuhite, and then Job's response one more time, and then a final word to his friends, and then things are going to start to change up a bit. So again, we just want to think about how we can relate to others that are going through things. How can we be the good friend to them? How can we be supportive to them? I hope that we're learning that through this series, and what we can also remember when we are in our low points in our lives, how we should give our thoughts and our hearts and our burdens to the Lord, and know that he is there with us in every situation. So thank you so much for joining me. I pray blessings over you in your day. Thank you. Have a fantastic day. God bless you. See you in the next video.